growing up in a business family definitely molded me and allowed me to think in a lot of different ways for certain. I think I was talking to someone the other day, the most important thing is to be non-judgmental. Because I think if you come with very strong biases or opinions, then it's very difficult to break that and to be an effective therapist or a psychologist. Yeah.
I really am very keen to know whether you need to be a certain kind of person to be a person who's in the space of psychology.
A large part of my job as a therapist is to primarily listen. You know, when emotions are high, when rationality goes out of the window. I keep saying this: our mind is our greatest strength and our worst enemy as well.
You know, there's a lot of confusion. I always feel that people confuse therapy to counseling. How are they different?
Which is realizing that maybe, I don't know everything.
Right.
Maybe I made a mistake.
Right.
And what did this experience teach me? A lot of us seek approval. We seek approval of our parents. We seek love. If we didn't get enough of that growing up in the home, then we try and seek it in the family space as well. I had a set of clients where at the end of it, the father was like, "Is that what you wanted?" And so I was like, "Yeah, I've been trying to tell you this for the last 2 years." And he's like, "I had no idea."
Hello and welcome to Insights with Midas. We're very excited to showcase this next episode with you. Have you ever had a time in your life as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, where expectations, pressure, and a lot of emotional dilemmas that you're facing? This is one thing that we all go through in all walks of life. And today our guest is just going to address all of that with you. As humans, we feel a lot, we do a lot, but there are times when you need somebody to just tell you that you're going to be okay. Rohit, our guest today, is going to be addressing this entire aspect of how you really treat yourself as entrepreneurs, as founders, and how your mindset truly matters. He's our succession planning coach here at Midas, and today it's unraveling of all the teachings that he's going to be giving here at Midas. Enjoy the show and watch till the end. All right. A very warm welcome, Rohit, to the Insights with Midas. Very excited to have you here.
Likewise.
I've known you for such a long time, but there are so many questions in my mind which I want to know more about, especially in perspective of entrepreneurship, psychology, business, and what the young adults of today are going through as well.
Yeah.
One of the first questions that come to my mind is that before we get into the work bit of it, what was your childhood like, Rohit? What was it growing up in a family that had a family business operating as well?
I think it was a part of life. There were always discussions at the dining table. There was always somebody coming in and out of the house from the office. It was very exciting because there's so many different aspects that you start seeing. Like, middle of the night, there's a delivery coming and the office is closer. Then, you have things loaded up in our house that we didn't even realize what they were. But I think it fueled me a little bit because I'm inherently a very curious person and always been interested in how things work or how people work. And so I think growing up in that environment also allowed me to experience so many different kinds of things as well. So that childhood was, growing up in a business family definitely molded me and allowed me to think in a lot of different ways for certain. Yeah.
So it was your granddad who had a family business, right?
Granddad and dad had started.
And this was the first generation of entrepreneurs in your family?
Yeah.
And ever thought of being a part of it?
I did. I was part of it for about 5-6 years. Then I've been in and out, on and off, helping where I can. But now I think I've kind of found what I feel is my calling. So also been privileged enough to be able to do that on my own as well. Yeah.
Perfect. So when did psychology come into the picture? Since the background's so different, where did all of this happen?
I think, like I mentioned, I've always been interested in how things work and how people work. And I think somewhere the way I look at it is I was given a lot of I was trusted a lot very early on in my childhood, answering a previous question. And I think that made me feel more responsible and accountable to the trust that was given. And that made me look at how people worked around me and how I treated people and how people are treated around me a lot more sensitively. And I think it's always been a theme in all the workplaces I've been in, whether it's been the family businesses or the startups I've been part of, where I think I really enjoyed working with people and creating and understanding how they did that. And I think in some way it was like a natural progression that I decided to go back to college full time and do this. So yeah.
Was this gradual or was it a very sudden thing for you?
I would definitely say it was gradual. I think it is something that has always been a part of who I am as a person. And I think the people who know me really well say even now that it just seems like the most obvious, I see it as the most obvious career choice that you would do. So I definitely feel it's something that I'm very grateful to have had the opportunity to get into. Yeah.
Is there a certain sort of person you need to be in such a space? Is just an abrupt question I'm asking, but I really am very keen to know whether you need to be a certain kind of person to be a person who's in the space of psychology.
It's a difficult question to answer because I do feel that inherently, I think there's a certain kind of person or people who get into this kind of field. But I also feel like if there's an intention, anyone can be what they want to be. And I also feel like I've changed a lot after getting into this field. But I think somewhere in my, I don't know whether it's DNA or personality, I was always more attuned to this. So maybe there's a certain leaning towards a particular kind of person that you should be. But otherwise, I think as long as you have some level of empathy and sensitivity and openness is very important. And I think I was talking to someone the other day, the most important thing is to be non-judgmental. Because I think if you come with very strong biases or opinions, then it's very difficult to break that and to be an effective therapist or a psychologist. Yeah.
You work in a very unique space, which is entrepreneurship, business, psychology. What is so unique or what really ties all of this together as well?
So I think fundamentally it's all patterns, who we are as people. And I think if you're able to understand what our own patterns are and then decide what we want to do, then anything is possible. The same thing when you're dealing with people also, when you understand what certain kinds of patterns are, then it's easier to take certain kinds of decisions when you go forward with it. And I feel like the intersection comes between there's logic, there's emotion, there's desire, there's aspiration, all of that kind of tying in together kind of makes you who you are as a person. So I think that's kind of also where beautifully you kind of bring all of that together.
Sure. And I think even, being a part of the leadership at Midas and even guiding students, one thing I've learned over time is that if you know people, you're good to go because all you're doing as a leader is managing people, right? Yeah. And if you're able to crack that part of it, a lot of work gets done. Yeah. So if you're able to figure what people are good at and just put them in those zones, I think your company functions like a well-oiled machine because someone may not be very good at multitasking, but very good at organizing things. Or somebody could be great at communication, but extremely bad at, really sitting down and operationally managing something. So I think when I do hear you, I do understand if you know people better and if you understand their psychology a little better, I think you can be a phenomenal leader if you could learn nuances of a lot of it.
So just to add on to what you're saying, if you're to dumb down the word psychology a bit in this context, I think it's just about having the patience and the intuitiveness to listen.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, most of us want is to be heard about what we want or what we don't want. And for someone to acknowledge the fact that this is what we're seeing And taking off from what you said, like a great leader is someone who's able to listen and then make changes and responses based on that. So, and that's, I mean, a large part of my job as a therapist is to primarily listen.
Yeah.
So, like I tell all my clients, I'm not here to give advice or to tell you what to do. I'm here to listen, and most times it's just me repeating back what you have said for you to understand what you have said in a slightly better, more structured way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just listening.
And also, a huge part of, I think, psychology is also directing people in a way which is not telling them what to do, but to sort of just put them in a direction that might make sense beyond a point.
Yeah.
So I think there's absolutely a lot of coherence in all of this. Definitely, I mean, your customer, your employees, your vendors, everybody are at the end of it. Even if they're providing services, they're all people. So
it's figuring out what you want.
Correct.
Right? And if you're certain about, and a lot of times, especially with young entrepreneurs or young leaders, there's a lack of clarity. I mean, not like any of us have clarity in anything, but there's a lot of lack of clarity in what we want to do.
Correct.
And sometimes just talking it out with someone, just figuring out where I want to do what, allows us to have more confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sometimes just the thing that you need to do, because then you own the accountability for it. You own whether it does well or doesn't do well. But that clarity is what we're all always seeking.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, there's a lot of confusion. I always feel that people confuse therapy to counseling. How are they different?
So it is interchangeably used quite a bit.
Right.
But from a slightly technical standpoint, therapy is a slightly more long-term process.
Okay.
And counseling can be used for multiple kinds of things. So counseling can be to help you better understand yourself. Therapy could, a part of that is better understanding yourself and also figuring out patterns and figuring out issues or challenges that you could potentially work with. So it's interchangeably used in a lot of contexts, but in simple words, therapy is a slightly more longer process than counseling. Yeah.
Got it. So counseling is more directive?
Not directive as such, but more short term. I would say short term and long term.
Got it.
But it's used interchangeably. Yeah.
Right. So whilst this conversation is also happening, one more thing that comes in light is that something we use very, very deeply at Midas is that as leaders, you need to be very, very self-aware.
Yeah.
And do you think it is important to be self-aware when you are in a leadership role as an entrepreneur, as a founder, or any sort of foundational role for any organization as well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's the most fundamental thing, because when you're self-aware, then you are aware of where your limits are and what your capabilities are. And you're also able to not be bogged down by certain kinds of, there's always going to be certain things that are going to keep coming and affecting you, or challenges that come in. But if you're self-aware of the fact that, and a simple example is aware of the fact of how you're responding or reacting. A simple example is sometimes you could lose your cool, or you could do something which was not ideal to how you normally do it. But if there's a certain level of self-awareness, or if you have a voice that's able to tell you that, and you make changes based on that, then that does not become a big issue.
Right.
And if you're self-aware of what my capabilities are or aren't, then you're not going to chase after something where you know for a fact there's no competence or capability to do that. So I would say self-awareness is one of the fundamental things that you need to.
So one of the things that we do at Midas as well is we sort of jot down the strengths. We tend not to focus on the weaknesses, but one very fun example would be that if you told me to get into the automobile industry, I think I'll be a total failure. I don't get it, I don't like it, and I don't understand it. It's not my strength. But anything to do with people, I'll probably do extremely well. So when I know my strengths, it's better to go in businesses that probably make sense to you. And I think that's where self-awareness is so important.
Yeah.
And I think people don't value it so much at times. They're like, why do I need to be in touch with my emotions? Why do I need to know so much? Yeah. But I think the more you know, the more in control you are of a lot of things that are tough sometimes to handle.
Absolutely. So,
You do work with a lot of young adults.
Yeah.
Are there, a lot of emotional patterns that you see repeating all the time with them?
Yeah, a few. I think there's a lot of loneliness despite being, hyper connected. Uh, there's a lot of questions on self-worth despite having, very high achievement as well. And a lot of identity crisis, for sure. Who am I? What am I doing? Where am I going? So that's definitely some of the top, I would say some of the top three things that keep repeating.
So it's more so the identity part of it.
Yeah.
Right? I think very similar response from my end as well, that the more I meet students,
Yeah.
the more I realize that all they want to figure out is who am I in this entire puzzle of families. And one thing that I wanted to understand from you, you're also a mediator, a certified one.
Yeah.
And you have resolved a lot of issues between families, conflicts between them.
Yeah.
What has been one of the most surprising conflicts that you've probably seen over the years? Without naming names, of course.
Well, I may not be able to share exactly what, but one of the most common themes is it's hardly about the issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually about the tonality. It's usually about the way something was said or done. It's mostly an emotional reaction. They come to me saying it's the issue about whether it's property or some disagreement about money or something else. But in the end, it was just that one phone call wasn't made to me first; it was made to someone else, or they didn't tell me about that. I was hurt that this didn't happen. So it boils down to disrespect. It boils down to not feeling prioritized. It boils down to unfairness. A lot of those kind of things. So that would be a very common theme. And it's hardly about the issue, especially in these kind of scenarios.
I mean, prelude to this question, do you think that if people tactically within families had the right tonality, used the right words, probably made better choices, were kinder to each other, would conflicts be way easier to resolve?
For sure, but we're also human. So all of us, me included, will continue to make the same kind of mistakes. 'Cause, when emotions are high, when rationality goes out of the window. And, I keep saying this, our mind is our greatest strength and our worst enemy as well. So, of course, it'll be easier if we're all able to be calm and take 3 deep breaths before anything else. But that's not usually the case. But the only thing I would say is if there's safety in the relationship, then being able to come back and say, hey, I goofed up, or I shouldn't have said it that way, allows that to not pile up as resentment, allows that to not blow up into a larger picture. And maybe that's the place where I feel that there could be change versus actually doing 3 deep breaths in the beginning, which may not always be possible.
So one of the other ways of obviously doing it is being more rational also at times.
Yeah.
Like, of course, your gut feeling, your intuit is 50% of everything. And then you back it with facts, figures, and everything. You end up with a far more rational call in most...
Absolutely. It's like, the most common example we've all heard is like, before you take a big decision, sleep over it.
Yeah.
And what the sleeping over actually does is just lets you calm all your 100 thoughts down to see which is it that actually surfaces up. Right. So my immediate reaction would be more reactionary than the most logical response or the sanest response sometimes.
Yeah.
So sleeping actually kind of like calms you down. It's basically buying yourself some time before responding, which may not always be the situation if you and I are having an argument.
Yeah.
Kind of conflict.
Yeah. So is emotional intelligence something that people are born with, or you've seen people actually develop that skill as well?
So I think some people are definitely more attuned towards it or have a natural affinity to it. But I think it's emotional intelligence is developed with experiences, with self-awareness, with realization as well. And it only comes over a period of time. And while you may have a natural sensitivity towards it, I do feel a large part of us develop it more and more as we go along with time.
Right. So you think over a period of time, people can learn emotional intelligence?
Absolutely.
Okay. So there are ways to sort of work on your EQ, because people say that today it's the only thing that's mattering.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand the emotional side of most things and they ignore it completely.
Yeah.
So,
You need to value it though.
right.
Because if you look at it as I need to learn algebra tomorrow and look at it as that kind of a focus, then it's very difficult to get there.
Yeah.
You realize what the value of it is, which is taking the pause, which is becoming self-aware, which is having the tough conversations with yourself, which is realizing that maybe, I don't know everything.
Right.
Maybe I made a mistake.
Right.
And what did this experience teach me?
Right.
So all of that slowly starts building up, and those layers up give you that kind of awareness.
So acceptance of a lot of things gets you into action most times. Yeah, absolutely. You've worked, across industries with a lot of family-owned businesses.
Yeah.
According to you, what are the top 3 sort of issues that these, dynamics between the elders and the young generation getting involved together?
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things that you observe?
So I think one was a concept I'd actually shared with some of the students today. Is there are 3 voices in these kind of scenarios. There is the parent voice or the parent's voice, which is there. There is the family business voice, which is the business's voice, and there is your voice as well. And there's always some kind of conflict between the 3, or there's a different set of expectations between the 3.
Yeah.
And aligning that together sometimes takes a lot of time, because expectations for each of them is very, very different.
Got it.
So that I would say 1. 2 is it's a lot of miscommunication based on unsaid expectations and not talking about certain kinds of things. So I guess communication does not happen.
Right.
And the third bit is sometimes there are intergenerational blocks that come into play, where we've done this for so many years, this is the way it has to be done, versus the other extreme, which is like this is the only way it can be done. And how do you find a middle ground where both sides don't feel defeated or demotivated by it? Could be one of the aspects.
I think me coming from a family business, one of the biggest things that probably I learned over the years was drawing the personal and professional line, because it's so blurred at times.
Yeah.
My brother, my father, me, my husband, I mean, all of us have such important relationships to play, but then there's also a professional boundary. And then you don't know when you're switching on and off from it. So I think it's very important to, like you said, these voices, if you're aware of these voices, it'll be much easier to sort of draw that line. Why is proving yourself so important to the kids of today? Why do you think it's become so important?
I mean, I'm going to layer some psych background to this, because, a lot of us seek approval. We seek approval of our parents. We seek love from our parents. And, if we didn't get enough of that growing up in the home, then we try and seek it in the family space as well. But the approval is slightly different over there. And the kind of things that you need to do there aren't just of you being a son or a daughter. It's of very different kinds. It's very different kinds of ways of measurement. The metrics are different.
Yeah.
So seeking approval and love from parents is a fundamental thing that all kids have and want. They desire to be patted on the back, saying good job.
Yeah.
And then you hope for it in the family space as well. So proving yourself is important, because it's not just your story, it's also your family's story, your family's legacy. There's perception and optics of yourself, of what the outside world thinks about you. And it's a lot of pressure, because everyone's looking at you just because of your surname, or just because, you're the owner's son or daughter coming in there. So there's a lot of pressure that you're also being put on yourself.
I also, whilst you were talking, realized that validation from your parents has over the years not changed, right? We all want that validation, whether we're close, not close, we speak, we don't speak, we just want them to be proud of us. And I think finally that's such an underrated emotion, but we all want that validation. Absolutely. For sure. So there's this one score we go through called emotional stability at Midas. And we do realize that the kids who have larger scores than that they only want validation from their parents, not the world. And the lower ones are obviously bothered about everybody, thinking about how they're performing. And it's crazy because the ones that are extremely emotionally stable are the ones who are able to express a lot as well. So when they want to cry, they'll laugh, or they'll get angry. But their parents are aware that this is the emotion the kid is going through. So I think it's very interesting to understand that they are also feeling the pressure. But more stability only means that validation is necessary, but they're working towards it without pressure. So another thing that, again, observation, a question that especially between the boys and the fathers, there is some uncalled distance that is created over the years. Why do you think this happens?
I would go back to it's silence, and a lot of fathers, especially, will communicate through action and not words, and so then there's a little bit of the expectation is.
So it's expression?
It's expression, it's communication, don't know what he actually wants. There may be sometimes it could be something as simple as him gifting him a diary was him actually appreciating that the son did a great job. But maybe what the son wanted was saying that, hey, you did a great job on that deal. But for the father, doing that is the only way he knew how to communicate. That distance can create some confusion. Some people learn the dance very quickly, some people don't, and that's again connected to validation, connected to a lot of that. Especially between father and son, there are a lot of other needs that need to be fulfilled as well around the whole validation, communication, approval aspect.
Right. So do you think if sons and fathers at least tried to communicate a little better, express a little more, the dynamics between families would be much easier to deal with?
Absolutely. Like I recently had answering other questions, I had a set of clients where at the end of it, the father was, okay, is that what you wanted? And so I was like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you this for the last 2 years. And he's like, I had no idea. And so I was like, I've literally spelled out what I wanted. But it was something very simple that the father just didn't know was what the son needed. And he was just, unfortunately, he needed a third person to come in to kind of translate a simple statement out like that, which wasn't actually that complicated. But we're just so used to seeing people in particular kinds of roles that you shut off what they're trying to tell you because of maybe other baggage or other lenses that you have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we definitely
Actually, you're absolutely right, because daughters express very easily. And that's why fathers are, absolutely, in coherence with what the daughter's up to.
Yeah.
And I think it's also to do with the fact that they're able to communicate.
Yeah.
And you'll end up having all the sons more closer to the mums because the mother is still expressing. So I think that women energy in the house generally bring out more
certain
expression as well.
Possibly, yeah.
So, how do unresolved family patterns show up in business decisions most times?
Control issues, lot of emotional decisions covered up as strategy. Primarily control issues is where it comes.
So you feel that people who are probably in the elder part of it, who've done the business for longer, are not able to give away the control.
Yeah.
And that is the unresolved part of it?
That could be one part of it. And two is the fact that there's not enough importance given to the son or daughter who's joining the business, them feeling that they need to have more autonomy. Because a lot of times there's a lot of responsibility given to someone entering the family business without autonomy.
Right.
And that can be very, very frustrating because like I have the designation, I have the team, but I'm not able to do anything without that approval or without that nod from someone else. And you can't blame them as well because in their eyes, they're still seeing you as a child. They're still seeing you as someone who's coming up. So it does take time. It's not a sure shot. If you do A, B, C, D, it'll change. But it does show up a lot.
Right. And that's when, even the leadership styles are so different.
Yeah.
Some may be very democratic, some may be very, this is how it needs to be done. I think that also could create
Definitely,
a lot
yeah.
of commotion within
Absolutely.
family business right now.
In some kinds of businesses, dealing with conflict could be by yelling and screaming, because that's the only way to get things done, is the way it's been done for the last 30 years.
Right.
Whereas maybe the generation coming in now is like, no, we need to have some compassion, or we need to handle this more tactfully without yelling and screaming, because certain level of civility needs to be there. And there could be discomfort in that, because, and this is again bringing a psych angle to it, because the chances are people who deal with conflict with anger and yelling and screaming possibly did it at home as well.
Right.
So that could be very triggering for the child who's coming in to see the same kind of patterns being repeated, making them shut down and not be effective in the business as well.
Right.
So multiple things like that could also happen.
So, between all of these questions also, there's this young person who's entering the family business.
Yeah.
There are expectations.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So, how do they feel at times when they're entering the business like this?
Like you said, there's a lot of pressure, because there's pressure from within themselves that they need to prove themselves, they need to do a lot of these things. There's a certain pressure of proving themselves to their family. There's pressure of showing up in a way that the other employees treat him in a particular kind of way, because he's again in between being an employee, being a leader, and being the son or daughter of them being the son or daughter of the owner. And there's outside perception as well. You can't afford to fail having, we put a lot of emphasis on our surnames and our family business legacy and whatever else. The truth is nobody really cares about it.
Yeah.
But then we believe that people care about it, the perception, whatever else. So it's, and you can't just walk away. If you were in a job that you didn't like, you could just get up and walk out, which you may not be able to always do in a family business, because that's part of the decision that you've taken. So it sometimes can feel like you're being trapped. It sometimes feels like you don't have a choice. So there could be some resentment that's built in. And a lot of times it's also people not knowing how to navigate some of these things, because they're difficult conversations to have with yourself or with each other. Right?
No, and whilst you were saying this as well, so it's like you're entering a family business. There's your father, he's a legend.
Yeah.
And he's like this banyan tree, and you're trying to figure, where do I sort of fit in?
Yeah.
And then I think couple of years, this young adult is just going through a major identity crisis of what am I doing here? They're enjoying, they're happy, they're figuring their way out. But the minute the maturity hits, I think there's a lot of questioning that happens. So
identity, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Who am I? Who am I in the business? Who am I outside the business?
Yeah.
How do things change? How are people treating me differently? Can I handle this? So.
Yeah. And I think also financial independence, personal independence, emotional independence.
Yeah.
I think a lot of family-owned businesses, everything is so entangled.
Yeah.
Especially financial control is something that really changes personalities of these young kids.
And it's very confusing, right? Because, the rules are very clear when you take up a job.
Yeah.
I spend X amount of time, I will get X amount of money and I come back.
Correct.
In a family business, in most businesses, they're like, there isn't an X amount of salary that's always given.
Yes.
It's like when you need something, you can take it from the business and understanding.
Correct.
And it again depends on the personality type of the person entering the business and what they feel they're expected to or allowed to, or what their privilege is, to take what they want. And a lot of people don't take what they want because they feel, this guilt and this identity and all of these things.
Yeah.
Which can lead to resentment, feeling that, I'm putting a lot of work in, but I'm not getting paid. Or, I'm getting paid a lot more, but this person here who's been there for 20 years is not being paid as much, or whatever these scenarios is. So, a lot of these other things change because no longer are just the child in the family. Now you're part of the breadwinner in the family who's helping the family grow up. So it's a lot of change in that as well.
Yeah. It's something very beautiful. You keep saying that leadership is not about what you really do.
Yeah.
It's how you show up for yourself, for everybody around you.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on this?
So I feel like, leadership is energy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because there are micro things that you do. It's not only about how you lead people or the decisions you take or how much money you pay or any of those things, but it's about how you show up and the energy that you give.
Yeah.
So if you come into your space or your office and you're confused or filled with self-doubt, or you're defensive, then that energy is going to get transferred and absorbed by everybody in your organization as well. But if you walk in separately with a different kind of mindset, that's the energy that they absorb from you.
Correct.
So the kind of energy you give out, which is where your self-awareness and all of that also comes into play, is very important to be a great leader. More than, we can read 1,000 books, but I would boil it down to the energy that you give out.
I'm just going to connect something different to this, that say you're very passionate about something, especially your business, since you're running it and all of that. And as a pattern that I've noticed in myself, that I love teaching. Like if I'm in class, I'm the happiest. So even on the worst days, when there are 10,000 things that have happened, if I'm in class, I think there's something that just completely switches in me, and I'm able to. It's honestly a performance, right? At the end of it, you're standing here and you're talking about something that you believe in, and that's where I also feel that if business owners, entrepreneurs, they would show up better if they did something that they loved and they were passionate about, and it's literally something that excited them every single day. So I think it'll be much easier for them to differentiate all these emotions from what they want to do. So I think you're absolutely right. It's how you feel and what's the energy you bring and what you've really done for everybody around you is important. And there's again something that you realize, that lively people have a much better culture, organization, happier one. People are far more excited to be at work than an organization where people aren't very happy working. So I think family businesses in the past have not focused on this, but I think this generation is, and I think I'm very happy they are.
Yeah, for sure.
So founders, and I've had this so many times, they break down. It's literally like you've hit rock bottom. And it's very difficult to sometimes cope with that. So how would you suggest that somebody deals with a breakdown?
I think it's definitely guaranteed. That's going to happen, right? If you're running your own business or a founder or whatever else. And a large part of it comes with the weight of feeling like, most of it is self-imposed. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We have the need, the pressure and the need to succeed, do well. And there's a lot of loneliness attached to that, because you feel like you're carrying the weight of everything on your shoulder, despite possibly having the best team with you as well. How do you cope with it? Is realize that this is part of my journey too, and to understand that I've not failed, and to look at it more as a data point.
Right.
To say, hey, this is something that didn't work out, and maybe today I'm just going to put everything aside and go, take a nap or read a book or hang out with my friends, do something that takes me away from this, because coping is also important for you to be able to heal. So sometimes it's just a fact of you having to recharge yourself. So accepting that it's not failure, but a data point, and that you're going to bounce back up, and it's part of tomorrow will be better. The sun is always going to rise tomorrow. So
damn nice. So it's also about how you deal with failure. In fact, I agree that you move past it and do what's right for you. Take a break and get out of feeling like you are. Some people do take more time, and some just get over it.
All our journeys are different, and the way we cope with certain kinds of things.
Very interesting. So you're saying you should know your coping mechanism. How do young entrepreneurs of today that you've interacted with deal with setbacks, deal with failure? Have you sort of seen any pattern on that front?
I would say they're definitely a lot more resilient, for certain. There's a lot more taking things in the stride, a lot more adaptable for certain. Also, I think there's a certain level of, it's good and bad, but a certain level of confidence or overconfidence is also there. Saying that this is okay, I can still pick up something else and do, which is great. Because I think we're also in a very fast-paced world. We've always been in fast-paced worlds. So I think they're definitely coping a lot faster. and not getting bogged down too much. So I think that's,
So you're saying that there's much more resilience that you've read.
I do feel.
Nice. What is that emotional blind spot that you see with most founders?
Overworking is dedication.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because a lot of people do evaluate their work with the number of hours
Hours
put
they
in
put
and
in.
stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you could work 5 hours and be very productive. Work 10 hours and then those 10 hours could be nothing if you're
True.
overworked. So yeah.
So, what makes someone truly a very self-aware leader, according to you?
That's $1 million question. I think, stopping to smell the roses once in a while,
Yeah.
stepping back. I mean, like what you were talking about earlier, which is like, sometimes walking into a class and teaching in psych terms is also you're shutting everything out because you have to come here, you said perform or be present here completely for your students. So what you're doing is you're shutting out all the other noise outside, and on some level it's a mindful activity.
It is.
It's not you're just coloring or doing a mandala, but you're coming here and doing something that's shutting everything else out. And that kind of energizes you because it's something you're passionate about and you're seeing a certain kind of response back from it. So, yeah.
So you're saying do something that engages you,
Yeah.
helps you shut down for a while.
To pause.
I think it's a brilliant thing that you're suggesting, and I hope people take up to it, because people are even scared of pausing, which is also very scary to me, that people are not taking the time off to pause and just say, look, this is what I want to do. And I think in the rigmarole of life, we forget to take that pause, and
we get caught up.
we do. And also one blind spot that I feel sometimes, and I know you've said this to me many times, that we forget to look at what we've achieved.
Yeah.
We just start cribbing about what we've failed at, but we're we're not understanding that we've reached so far with so much that we've done. So I think we do not focus on the good.
It's also how we're like wired, right? When I ask you, like, hey, how was your day? What happened? The first thing you'll tell me, like, I missed my cab. I walked in, that coffee fell on me. And then, this payment didn't come. And we forget about the other things that happen, what we're grateful for. So sometimes it's just actively changing that mindset a little bit to say, how about we positively think about some of these things, Actually, I came and I had a great meeting. I had 2 great meals today. I had a great class. But our minds are wired to talk about what didn't go well because our base is very different.
True. And very weirdly, I've noticed this pattern in myself also. Like whenever I say, oh, I had an okay day, I start feeling that it was an okay day.
Yeah.
But the minute I have said that it was a productive day, I'll start noticing what were the things that I did productively. You're so right. So it's so much about how aware you are about how you are performing as well.
Yeah.
$1 million question. What made you say yes to Midas? Because, as an institution, I know it resonates with you as a person, but what is it beyond that for you?
So I think for me, the fact that Midas looks at entrepreneurship as a mindset and not a subject, I think was the first thing that kind of resonated with me, which means that you're looking at the human behind the person who wants to become an entrepreneur. And that completely resonates with the kind of work that I do, which is we're looking at who you are as a person rather than just trying to teach you something which needs to be done. So I think that's something that Midas is doing very differently, looking at it as an overall mindset. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think if we're able to change the way people think, we'll be creating some brilliant entrepreneurs from this space, because I say this with a lot of gumption also, that nowhere in the world anybody is focusing on the person. People go to therapy, people do counseling, people have a lot of one-on-ones, they have mentors, they have gurus that they go to. But as a group together, really, trying to create, actually the founders of tomorrow, someone who's going to contribute to a larger sector of people. And that is business owners for sure. And if you're able to not just look at, because business, and something, Rohit, I have to tell you, we had our CR elections here, and one of the kids who had been asked a few questions uh, gave a very beautiful answer. He said, we know we'll end up doing business, we'll be good at it, and we come from that legacy.
Yeah.
But what Midas is doing for us is making us far better human beings as well.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that was pretty much what is the core of Midas. And thank you for being a part of this institute, because we can cut this part, but it's also the fact that, we are also friends.
Yeah.
So I remember a couple of times you would always say that we're not going to work as friends, because 20 years knowing each other, let's never get into business. But I think when something as big as this comes in picture, everybody does want to be a part of changing people's lives, right?
It's literally a movement that you're being part of it, right?
It
It's more than business, you're part of a movement. So yeah.
Beautiful. You have sat through a lot of one-on-ones with parents, with students, with, of course, the entire team together. What is that one common pattern that you're seeing, really come up, or something that's an observation out of the entire conversation?
I think what's been really lovely to see is the intention behind the parents sending their children here and the expectations that they're setting. And I think it's the first time, I think one of the first few calls I sat in, the parents were like, we have no expectations. We just want our son or daughter to explore, to be open, to figure things out. And it may not always, earlier it was always attached to people who had a certain kind of privilege, were allowed to think in a particular kind of way. But here I feel there's a mindset change saying that we want this person to become a particular kind of person based on the kind of exposure and experiences as well.
Yeah.
And that's been very, very lovely to see. Almost all the parents I've been seeing have been talking about that, and also acknowledging the change they're seeing in their children within just a few months as well.
Yeah.
So that's been lovely. And you can see the culture of the organization and the team and the coaches kind of percolating down through the students as well, which is amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely agree. We have a bunch of amazing parents on board as well. It's a tough decision to send your son or daughter to an institute which is not going to offer you a degree.
Yeah.
But they are focusing on really working on them as people.
Yeah.
And I think you need a different sort of a parent to have that feeling as well. So kudos to them.
Yeah.
How do you think, in that spirit, Midas is creating emotional space for students as well? How do you think that's being created here?
I think from my interactions with the students and the kind of pedagogy that you have, there's a lot of emphasis on, your self-awareness, about finding clarity, about identity. And some of it is not just limited to, traditional formats like counseling or therapy or, life coaching as such. But in all these other kind of activities that you're doing, whether it's, workshops or, explorations or whatever else that you're doing, you're allowing people to kind of come outside their comfort zones and find themselves a lot more. And I think the student to coach ratio is also very low. So everyone's getting like almost one-on-one kind of, on an everyday basis, micro adjustments in the way they're thinking and figuring out what they want to do, which is very, very rare to get. Otherwise, it's like, we just go to like a factory lineup.
Yeah.
And we come out with the same degree and the same kind of, textbooks that haven't been changed in I don't know how many years.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing experiential learning, figuring out who we are as people, figuring out who we are as people with other people and in business or, and all of that. So I think it's amazing.
So if you had to describe your role at Midas, what would you really describe this role as?
I think I'd like to think that I'm helping the students find themselves, follow their dreams, and figure out what their life stories are as people.
Right. Yeah. So it's also again probably figuring identity
Yeah.
and defining something that's going to make them feel far more happier and settled
Yeah.
with who they are as people.
People, yeah.
Amazing. And that would mean that uh, every part of their life
Yeah.
is somewhere or the other on board
Yeah.
with what that identity is.
Because everything affects us, right? So our relationships will affect our business decisions. Our financial pressures will affect our business decisions. It could be, an interpersonal conflict that could affect it. So if you're able to, or it could be a purpose-driven thing of like, who am I at this age? Or what my fears are? Is it, what are my apprehensions? What are my anxieties? And kind of figuring all of that out, or starting, we may not be able to answer everything or find the answers for all of it, but getting into the mindset of being able to think of it in all of these kind of aspects allow us to take better informed decisions for ourselves as we move forward.
And what would be your message to any student that's going to be a part of Midas? An entrepreneur, an aspiring entrepreneur, family business owner, what would that message be?
There's no hurry. Like, grow into yourself. There are going to be different versions of you as you grow, and you'll find your sweet spot as you keep going along. As long as you don't hurry, it will come to you.
Amazing. So you're saying take your time.
Yeah.
Don't speed the process.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Rohit. So the next part is something that we love at Midas. It's called the rapid fire.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you questions that you answer as rapidly as you can.
Okay.
So your first, are you ready, Rohit?
I guess, yeah.
One word your friends would use to describe you.
Grounded.
A belief you strongly disagree with.
Tough love over kindness.
A book that changed the way you see the world.
Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl. Yeah.
Most underrated skill in young adults today.
Inability to say no.
The first thing you notice about a person.
Energy.
A behavior that instantly reveals someone's emotional maturity.
How they treat other people.
Your biggest pet peeve during counseling sessions.
I don't know.
You think you're very fidgety, Rohit.
Yeah.
A myth about therapy you wish would disappear.
It's to get advice.
Yeah. Night owl or an early riser?
Early riser. Yeah.
Coffee, chai, or something stronger?
Coffee.
A habit that grounds you.
I like working with my hands, so I guess origami.
Yes.
Yeah, things with my hands.
I was going to guess that one.
Yeah.
The hardest emotion for people to express.
Vulnerability.
Great. A value you will never compromise on.
Integrity.
One thing every parent should understand about their children.
They're not a younger version of you.
One thing like every next generation should understand about their parents.
That what they're saying and doing is not coming out of control, but from love.
If you weren't a psychologist, what would you be doing?
Don't give me ideas. I don't know. I mean, I guess something in the creating space. I think, yeah, innovation, creation. Yeah.
Innovation, creation. I mean, for all you know, you would be somebody who would go to a god-forsaken place and probably create a mad place where people could come do so many crazy things.
Yeah.
Like pottery, because and he does not break the rapid fire. A quote you live by. He cut kara. A quote you live by.
People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. It's by Maya Angelou. Yeah.
Absolutely. The best phase of your life till now in one sentence.
I think when I stopped pretending and started choosing myself.
Beautiful. Your favorite part about working at Midas?
I get to be myself and I get to see I get to literally see change happening on an everyday basis.
Amazing. One advice you wish every student carries for life.
Be yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rohit. It was amazing. A lot of fun having this interaction with you. Can't wait to see what's unfolding for the students, parents,
Yeah.
and for us during this process of really making sure that the dynamics between all three of us
Yeah.
work together in coherence for that one success.
Yeah.
And they are at the core of everything. Rest is all just there.
Yeah.
And it's been amazing having you
Yeah.
for this podcast, and hope everybody enjoys watching this as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pooja.